Hello, my friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Sonia's Real Estate Connection and Hot Topics, all things real estate on this show. I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of Sonia's Real Estate Connection. Glad you could join in with us on today. I am Sonia Mays, broker, founder, owner at Midwest Executive Realty in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, representing the MKE on Milwaukee's northwest side. As always, proud and honored to serve in this capacity and glad to share information and resources for our lovely listening audience so that we can keep you up to date on the latest and greatest information in the real estate industry, and we want to be the connection for your real estate journey. Again, welcome, welcome, welcome. It is an honor and a pleasure to serve in the great state of Wisconsin and in the beautiful United States of America. Thanks so much for tuning in, folks. We'll get started very shortly. Thank you. Today I'll be sharing with you the real estate market reports from February of 2022. And first we'll take a bird's eye view of the Wisconsin state real estate market reports, and then we'll zero in on the Metro Milwaukee real estate market reports, which consist of the 4 county areas in southeastern Wisconsin. And then lastly, we'll look at the rental markets from a national standpoint. But first, I'd like to take a moment of silence for the Ukrainian people and for the Ukrainian families and individuals who are fleeing or attempting to flee from those areas, those that are fighting the war, and for the individuals in the Ukrainian area, and for the lives lost in the Ukrainian war. If we can, now please, let's take a brief moment of silence for Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's get right into it, folks, shall we? Starting out with the Wisconsin Housing Market Report. Home sales were down by 4.7% in the state of Wisconsin. Home sales were down by 4.7%. The median sales price in the state of Wisconsin was $235,000. That was an increase of 9.3% compared to the same time last year. New listing inventory was down 7.7%. New listing inventory down 7.7% in the state of Wisconsin. And for Wisconsin, we had 1.9 months of housing inventory. No surprises there. Very low inventory across the board. Properties were staying on the market on average 82 days. That was a drop of 13.7%. The Housing Affordability Index was down by 13.7%, down to 182, meaning that it is more expensive or less affordable to buy homes now than it was a year ago when the Home Affordability Index was 220, and it is now at 182. So more of a challenging time for home buyers trying to buy a house this year. All right, let's take a look at the Metro Milwaukee Market Report, and this report covers the 4 counties of Milwaukee, Ozaukee, Waukesha, and Washington counties in southeastern Wisconsin for the month of February 2022. The average sales price was $320,000, and that was up by 9.8%. And the median sales price in the Metro Milwaukee area was $250,000 was the median sales price, and that was up 3%. There was a 3% increase in that median sales price for Metro Milwaukee. Now, if anyone is wondering what the difference is between average and median sales price, the average, as you all know, is calculated by adding up all the numbers and then dividing by the total number in the sample or in the group of numbers. However, the median price or number is calculated by taking the middle or midpoint value, which represents half of the numbers. So half of the numbers in the group would be smaller, and then the other half would be larger. So let's say we're looking at properties for sale in a certain area, and so we would line them all up, and we would say that half of the numbers or half of the homes above the median value, and then there are half of the homes below the median value. So the point in the middle, or the number in the middle, midpoint, would reflect the median value. So just a little FYI to explain the difference between average and median and why those numbers are different. In terms of average days on market for Metro Milwaukee, properties were staying on the market on average 30 days, so about a month's time for properties before they either sell or go under contract, and that was down by 18.9% for average days on market. So again, we're seeing shorter market times for properties in the Metro Milwaukee, Greater Milwaukee area. Properties sold at 99.7% of the original list price. So that means that sellers were getting 99.7% of what they were asking for. Congrats to the sellers. Good job. Great job. So you're getting almost what you're asking for on average. Sometimes you get more, sometimes you get a little less, but on average, sellers were getting 99.7% of their original list price. So that was a slight increase, 0.6% compared to the same time a year ago. In terms of inventory, there was a decrease by 9.8%. No surprises there. Again, very low inventory. And there were 2,135 properties that were available for sale. Of that number, 1,628 were single-family homes and 507 were condo homes. So again, 2,135 properties available for sale in the month of February for 2022. In terms of inventory, there was 2.2 months of housing inventory. That was down by 10%, almost 10.5% decrease from the same time last year. Again, no surprises, very low inventory, a little over 2 months of housing inventory, very low. In a normal market or a balanced market, we should see around 5 to 6 months of housing inventory. So we are at a little over 2 months of housing inventory, very low housing stock available. All right, now let's take a look at the rental markets from a national standpoint. In terms of home choices and home selections, remote working conditions continue to be a driving factor for renters in today's market. So because of the pandemic, which is still affecting a lot of workers, many renters are looking for homes that have maybe extra space so that they can continue to work from home. Many of them have been working from home since the COVID-19 pandemic started and are still working from home. And if they're moving or relocating, they're looking for that extra space that they can reserved for office space or workspace, and so that continues to be a driving factor when they are looking for home choices. So work from home, remote work locations and space continues to drive that segment of the market in terms of what they're looking for in the rental units. The multifamily rental rates increased by 11.4% for multi-unit properties. And multifamily vacancy rates actually went down from 6% to 4%. So less vacancies in the multi-unit segment, and rental rates increased 11% in the multi-unit rental segments. In terms of single-family property owners, they were hit the hardest during the pandemic due to missed rents. So let's think about it. If you have a single-family home that you have as a rental property, and that tenant stops paying rent, then you obviously lose your rental income, as opposed to having a multi-unit property, or and if one or two tenants don't pay the rent, then you still have the other units that are hopefully generating some sort of rental income to help offset your costs and expenses. And so many of the smaller landlords, mom and pop landlords, or property owners that had single family homes may have had one or two homes, rental homes that were single families. And so if those tenants stopped paying rent, then they had no rental income to help with their expenses. They may have had mortgages to pay. If you're a landlord and you have a mortgage to pay, or you still have maintenance and repairs that have to go on in the properties, and other expenses, utility costs, insurance, taxes, things of that nature. And then if you only have a single family property and those tenants stop paying rent, then you end up operating in a deficit with a negative balance. Now, if you have multiple single family properties, there are some landlords who only buy single families, or maybe they only like single family properties as rental properties. So if you have 5, 10, 15, 20 single family houses, and half of them stop paying rent, then you still have another portion of your real estate portfolio that will be generating some rental income. But if not, then again, you end up operating in a deficit with a negative balance, a negative cash flow. So we may be seeing some of these properties come on the market, and then the new landlords will have an opportunity to turn them over and turn them back into income-producing properties. So again, landlords of single-family property owners were the hardest hit during the pandemic due to those missed rents. And ironically, more than 79% of the single-family rental landlords ended up selling their properties to primary residents or owner occupants. So what we found, or what was revealed in the research and the data, was that the landlords that sold their single-family properties, they did not sell to another investor. They actually ended up selling it to someone who was going to owner occupy the property and live there. So more than 79%, or perhaps 80% of those single family rental units were sold to homeowners who were going to live there. And we're seeing that in our markets as well, where the single family homes are attractive to homeowners, maybe first time buyers, or move up buyers, or downsize buyers, or whatever the case may be, but they're being sold to owner occupants and people who are going to owner occupy those properties as primary residents. The wage of renters is on the rise by 3.3%, so that's great for renters who are experiencing an increase in their wages. That will help to absorb the cost of their living expenses. Rental prices continue to increase, on average 7.1%, and we can expect to see those rent rates continue to increase, on average 7.1%. In some markets, it was reported that some 1 and 2 bedroom rental units rental prices have increased by as much as 15%. So again, we'll continue to see those rental prices increase. Overall, we continue to see tight inventory and rising prices, and that makes it a seller's market, as well as a continued rising rental rates for the rental market. We do not expect this to end anytime soon, as renters and buyers compete for a very small pool of housing inventory. One final bit of information I'd like to share with you regarding the Metro MLS market reports for the four-county area in southeastern Wisconsin. The data from those reports are based on single-family and condominium property types only. They do not include duplex properties or multi-unit properties. So if you're an investor or if you work with investors, then you know, like I know, that there are a lot of duplex properties or 4 units or multi-unit residential properties that are listed and sold every day, right? We see those properties all the time, right? But those property types are not reflected in the Metro MLS 4-county market reports. So again, just a little FYI concerning the source of the data for that segment of the reporting on today's show. That concludes the real estate market report for today. I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of Sonia's Real Estate Connection and Hot Topics. And hey, don't forget to click like and subscribe so you can stay up to date on the latest and greatest information in our real estate markets. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I always like to provide you with the source of information from today's show for those inquiring minds that want to know. Some of the information came from the WRA, Wisconsin Realtors Association, WRA.org, MetroMLS.com, the Metro MLS housing report for February 2022, and then from Rentals.com, ManagedCasa.com, Zumper.com, and then Google and Stock. So those are the sources for the information from today's show for those inquiring minds that want to know. As always, I hope and trust that you found this information to be useful and of value. It is always a pleasure to serve in this capacity as we seek to educate and empower our lovely listening audience to help you make an informed, educated decision concerning your real estate transaction, and to keep you updated on the latest and greatest information in the real estate industry. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of Sonia's Real Estate Connection. And if you have any questions or feedback, feel free to give us a call toll free at 844-777-7725. Again, that toll free number is 844-777-7725, or you can send us an email to info@midexec.com. Again, it's up there on the screen, info@midexec.com. And check out our website at Midwest Executive Realty for real estate listing information, midwestexecutiverealty.com. It's always a pleasure to hear from the lovely listening audience, and we thank you so much for tuning into today's show. Thanks again, people, and I look forward to talking with you again real soon. Make it a great day, folks, and please be safe, stay well, and be healthy. God bless.